Hello, and welcome to the first in the series of Let's Talk About It. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create the perfect tenon for bowl turning and for spindle turning, depending on the size of the spindle. But we'll go on that topic a bit later on in videos. But for now, it's just a video on how to create and size the perfect tenon. And we're even going to smack it with a hammer to see the difference between a good tenon and a bad tenon. Okay, there are 4 points when creating your tenon that you have to consider. Number 1, what is the correct diameter? Number 2, what is the correct depth of the tenon? Number 3, have I created a shoulder to sit against the front of my jaws to support this, to stop it from twisting? And number 4, is it a dovetail chuck or does it have straight jaws? I would recommend, if you're doing bowls, to have a dovetail set of jaws. What I mean by dovetail is, I've taken this jaw off of here so that you can see the side view of the jaws. And the dovetail is the fact that this is angled downwards on both outside and inside of the jaws. And this is so that you can create the same shape on your tenon, dropping down there wider at the front, dropping down smaller at the back, so that when the jaws tighten up onto that dovetail, they grip at exactly the same angle, and you therefore have a wider point here at the back of the tenon than you do at the front, stopping it from pulling out this way. And that's the idea of dovetail, and that gives you a good section view of how a tenon should sit into your chuck jaws. I've got the perfect size tenon, as in diameter and depth. I have an oversized tenon, as in diameter but the correct depth. And then I have the correct diameter but too long. And I just want to show you a quick demonstration of what a difference each of those makes. Okay, so I'm going to put the correct size tenon into the chuck first. Push it right up against, so the shoulder is against the front of the jaws. I'll tighten this up as tight as I can, just like that. Okay, and I'll take a hammer like this, and I'm just going to gently tap on the back edge as I spin it by hand here. Okay. Okay, that has moved minimally. I mean, I'm hitting it with a hammer at the end of the day. This is just basically showing a really bad catch on a bowl or a spindle. Okay, and that's just done. That's just moved it just slightly. I can reset it just by hitting it there, and it's straight again. Okay, now, and that is the perfect size tenon. Okay, next I'm going to do an oversized tenon, diameter, but still the same correctness, that same correct depth. Okay, so the shoulder will still be, I can show you how much I'm doing it. Okay, I see a lot of people on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, new turners with their chucks wide open like this. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate why it's not a good idea. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there, I'm going to tighten it up. Again, I'm right up against the shoulder, against the front of the jaws, and I'm going to tighten this up just as tight as I did with the other one. Okay, that's tight in there. and I'm going to just reconstruct a bad catch. Okay, you turn in, and I'm hitting that the same amount as I was the other one. There you go. I want to show you something else as well. Even though I was hitting that with a hammer, there was very little damage on the correct size tenon. When you look here, you can see score marks. And I'll tell you what they are in a second, but you can see score marks all the way around the tenon. Okay? Now let's put the tenon in that's the correct diameter, but it's too long. Tighten that up, just like I did with the others. Okay, that's in there. Okay, now the difference with this one is that this shoulder here is not up against the front of the jaws. There's about a 3 or 4 mil gap, about an eighth of a gap. Okay, just in front of the jaws. And again, I'm going to replicate a bad catch on the back. There you go. I could probably knock that out of the jaws. Just like that. And again, we've got scoring and marks. It's actually chipped a piece of the tenon away. Okay? And I will explain why you've got marks right now. Okay, the reason why we got scores on both wrongly sized tenons are because when these jaws are wide open, but still gripping the piece, we haven't got a perfect circle just here, because the more they go apart, the less of a circle we get here, and we're not getting full contact with the inside of our jaws. So it means that these 8 points just here are digging in to our wrong sized tenon. And when you put that in and you tighten up, the only hold that you've got are those 8 points. And the best way I can describe that is rather than gripping the tenon like this, just like you would hold a baseball bat, would say, okay, it's holding it like this with the fingers. You wouldn't dream about swinging a baseball bat or just holding it with your fingers, because what happens as soon as it comes in contact with a ball, or as soon as this comes in contact with a catch or a wrongly presented tool, which is what's going to happen when you're a beginner, it's going to pull it out and it's going to go pop, just like that. The bat's going to be knocked clean out of your hands because you're not holding it properly. And that's how important it is to have the right size diameter, to have a shoulder to support it against the front of the jaws, and to have the correct depth, that there's no gap where that piece of wood can move. And as long as you have all 3 of those points in place when you're creating your tenon, you should never lose the piece away from the chuck unless the timber itself has an issue with it and the tenon fails. That's the only way you would lose a tenon in a correctly sized situation. And there you go. I know it's a little bit long, I'm sorry about that, but I want to get as much detail in for beginners, because I don't think when people talk about tenons they really put enough detail in, and hopefully you got something out of that information. Next video will actually show how we form the perfect tenon on a bowl. But until then, happy turning, and I'll see you again. Bye!